Gather round the campfire, friends. I've got another chilling tale to tell you. A true story more terrifying than anything you've heard before. It's the story of a deranged killer and 3 young women who crossed his path. One of these women was a young mother named Sherry, an innocent mother who met a gruesome end. Sherry was just 29 years old, far too young and vibrant to have fallen victim to such brutality. As a loving single mom raising 3 kids, life often threw Sherry curveballs, but she always persevered with a smile on her face. She was known for opening her door to help those in need without judgment, even when she struggled herself. That kindness led her to unknowingly let a wolf into her home, and it would prove to be a fatal mistake. It was a sunny Tuesday afternoon in Florida when Sherry's boyfriend William got an odd call at work. Sherry's daughters had shown up at home from school with no sign of their mom. Sherry always waited faithfully at the bus stop, but today she was a no-show. And when the girls returned to the house alone, they found it empty. No Sherry or her car. At first, William wasn't too worried, but as hours ticked by with no word from Sherry, panic started rising. As day turned to night, William scoured the small town, searching everywhere for his girlfriend. But Sherry and her blue sedan seemed to have vanished without a trace. Exhausted and anguished, William collapsed at a friend's house, praying Sherry would reappear by morning light. But the next day only brought deeper dread. When William returned home, his stomach sank seeing Sherry's car still missing from the driveway. Inside, he discovered her purse and medication, signs that something had gone horribly amiss. As he hunted room to room, a shocking sight turned William's blood to ice, blood splatters all over the furniture and floor. Amongst the red stains, William found a hammer and pipe, both caked thick with gore. It was clear something sinister had happened. Who could have done something so vile to Sherry? William's mind raced, trying to make sense of it all. That's when he realized something else didn't add up. A man named Michael Townsend, a recently released convict and childhood friend of Sherry's, had been crashing at their place, but now he too had vanished. William called the sheriff in desperation, feeling as though he were trapped in a nightmare he couldn't wake from. When investigators arrived at the bloody scene, they knew Sherry was in mortal danger, if she was still alive at all. The house told a story as clear as day. Someone had brutally murdered a defenseless woman inside these walls. The only questions were who did it, and where was Sherry now? Then came an earth-shaking discovery. Hidden amongst a pile of laundry lay a woman's mangled corpse. By the distinct cross tattoo on her ankle, Sherry's grieving family identified her battered remains. It was a gruesome betrayal of the trust Sherry had shown by taking Michael into her home. Sherry's poor children had even been inside the house multiple times, while her body lay, battered and cold, in the next room. With Sherry found slain, the hunt now centered on finding Michael before he could vanish for good. Luck was on the side of justice, because the very next morning Michael was astonishingly tracked down an hour away, caught red-handed driving Sherry's stolen car. When intercepted, Michael made a crazy claim. He said he'd witnessed Sherry's murder at the hands of a friend of theirs called Donald, but was too scared to intervene. He then stole her car keys and just drove away in shock. But that foul lie smelled funny to anyone with any sense. After changing his story multiple times, Michael finally confessed. He had bludgeoned Sherry over some nonsense about her giving him HIV. Investigators highly doubt Sherry was even positive for the virus, believing Michael invented the accusation as justification for his evil actions. Whatever truly sparked his savage attack in the end doesn't really matter. Michael proved himself a soulless coward who snuffed out an innocent mom simply because he snapped. For taking Sherry away from her children forever, Michael earned himself a one-way ticket right to prison for the rest of his life. For over a decade, it seemed Michael's tale had ended there, with no more secrets left to share. But just when people started to forget his face, the killer himself crept from the shadows, dying to keep our attention. Michael had more horrifying headlines still left to make, if only someone would lend him their eyes and ears. He managed to lure a curious journalist to the prison, and once face to face with the writer, Michael spewed a torrent of terrifying tales. Tales of other innocents he'd slaughtered like Sherry before ever meeting her acquaintance. Michael confessed that his first kill occurred years prior, back in 1988 in Orlando, Florida. A woman whose name now rots 6 feet under, alongside her memory. Michael admits his recollections of actually killing the woman remain shrouded in fog, but vividly recalls fleeing Orlando straight after. He then embarked on a restless road trip down the eastern coastline, leaving scattered corpses in his wake. By his own admission, Michael figures he likely killed at least 9 hapless souls during his travels, including a woman named Linda in Daytona Beach, and another named Aline Branch, who was discovered dead in Memphis and Sherry. This sudden avalanche of vile confessions tumbled from Michael's lips for one simple reason: attention. With exoneration impossible, this caged animal now wants only to achieve lasting infamy. Let's follow Michael's trail back to 1991, the year his crimes first slithered south toward Daytona Beach. There, his story sharpens into dreadful focus, with the grim disappearance of one unlucky woman named Linda Little. Linda shared both Sherry's kind, trusting spirit and her final violent fate. The night before vanishing, Linda spent her last free hours unwinding over drinks at a bar, likely numb to the hooded specter looming close. Perhaps they exchanged casual chatter before Michael offered Linda a ride home, or she may have simply crossed his sightline while fumbling to unlock her bicycle. Whatever lured Linda toward Michael ultimately proved lethal. For the next morning, Michael spirited her body over state lines to forever conceal his latest butchery. Back home in Daytona Beach, 3 torturous days passed before Michael's crime against Linda got reported by her concerned co-workers. Yet despite exhaustive local searches, Michael's quick getaway from Florida ensured no traces of Linda ever surfaced. And so, year after grim year, Linda's weeping family kept grisly vigil over her empty grave, while Michael rested easy, knowing her remains would not be found. His copycat killing of Sherry in 2007 exposed enough red flags from Michael's past that investigators finally exhumed Linda's case file. When confronted with her photo, Michael proudly confessed the murder as if boasting of some grand trophy. Thus, after 31 agonizing years in limbo, Michael lifted the shroud of mystery surrounding Linda's disappearance, and her family could get the closure they so longed for. And let us not forget another light illuminated briefly by Michael's tales: a woman named Aline Branch. Though details remain scarce, investigators confirmed Aline perished by violence in Memphis back in 1993. Her tragic story eerily reflects Sherry and Linda's, hinting she too crossed paths with Michael during his monstrous road trip. Aline's grieving family finds closure in learning her alleged killer now permanently resides behind bars. I want to wrench the spotlight off Michael's shadow to properly memorialize Sherry, Linda, and Aline as the enduring lights they were: 3 vibrant souls eclipsed by one merciless reaper, and who knows how many more victims there were. And what of the demon himself? What fate befell Michael after his confessions shined light on crimes that were buried in the past? Though revelations of his hidden bloody legacy sparked new investigations, Michael remains safely entombed behind bars even now. Michael Townsend currently serves out his remaining days in a Florida correctional facility, emerging only to offer occasional interviews expanding upon his macabre exploits. Some speculate Michael spins fantastical tales out of sheer boredom and a warped desire to seem more prolific than the facts support, perhaps hoping his body count gets inflated enough to someday earn him a top rank beside America's most notorious serial killers. Still, his attention-seeking confessions do keep cold case files active that otherwise risked fading close.